Where in God's fucking name is the local media on this? If you're an actual journalist, like most people get involved in journalism because you get you get a little exhilaration for like chasing the bad guys and holding powerful to account. I mean, Detroit is a gold mine. It is. You could literally break story after story and retire in some villa by 35. Serious.
Every journalist that came out of Detroit that tried to really report got misplaced. Every one of them. So I said every journalist that really was trying to report on our behalf out of Detroit, they end up being misplaced. So that's what we have no faith, or I don't even expect nothing. We doing a recall on the city officials that's indicted for bribery right now, and no news media has covered us. Not one of them. I'm talking about the Free Press wrote an article, the news wrote an article, but I'm talking about the straight up stations, the story station. Not one of them covered anything. So that's where the media at. The media is sold out. We have to depend on our own self, and the people that we have to talk to is the citizens. We have to wake the citizens up to understand what's going on so that they can know who is involved and who is responsible. They don't know. They know something is wrong. They just don't know who's responsible for it. And that's where we come in at to teach them who's responsible and to teach them what we can do to collectively in order to seek some resolve.
Want to talk about classism. In Detroit, we have a classism issue as well as a racism issue. But classism, I think, in Detroit should be highlighted a little bit more, because yes, we have systemic racism as far as the state is concerned, but the city of Detroit, like we said, is predominantly black, and we have a strong classism mentality amongst the African American community. Like when you go past Chariton, it's like, they get the best of the best, and that's what happens. Like they distribute the wealth in this city and those concentrated areas of where is the upper class blacks, the educated class blacks, and other poor blacks that make up majority of the city. They get ignored, and they suffer the most. I mean, we talking about extreme poverty here. We're talking about people who have a family of 4 living off of $12,000 a year.
You were just talking about earlier all these people dying during the polar vortex.
Yeah. We had reports. See, in Detroit, we have a homeless population. When I was canvassing in my research, I estimated it's approximately over 5,000 to 10,000 people just squatting in homes. The land bank homes they have over 100,000 parcels of 100,000 houses in their land bank. A lot of those people who got foreclosed on, they had nowhere to go. So they just squatting in the houses and stuff like that. And they can't get utility zones. But make a long story short, we got reports that it was people that froze to death in the houses. Okay. And because they live in their homes with no heat, no gas, and they just, thugging it out, And so we have a serious housing crisis. And what's so sad is that Detroit, in the African American community here, we was number 1 in the country for home ownership. Number 1, less than 10 years ago. So when we talk about the rapid beast of gentrification that just came through like a tsunami and just snatched all our homes, all our resources that we had. And then when that bankruptcy did, when they took all our grandparents and our elderly people pension, that forced them right into poverty. They worked their whole life in those plants, and they thought they was going to have that nice pension, not the plants, the city. They worked like 20, 30 years into the city, and the plants did it too. And when they thought that they was going to retire and live well, or at least live comfortably, that dream was taken away from them, And so now we got an excessive amount of our elderly people who's well over in their 70s with no money, homeless, and don't have any food to eat, And so it's just so many issues. And like you said earlier, I mean, the media, this is a gold mine for the press. I told myself I want to write a book about it. I just can't believe that this is America, and I can't believe this amount of corruption going on. And that's why I feel that it gotta for them to contain it the way they containing it, it gotta be from the higher levels of government. You know, it gotta be. It's beyond just the state of Michigan government. I think somebody on the federal level say, look, you can do whatever you want to do in Detroit, and nobody will do nothing. Nobody will say nothing. It's been several federal investigations with our mayor, city council. They stay investigating, but when they reports come back, oh, we didn't find anything illegal. How? When we find it every single day? How can you justify not one minority contractor working in the city of Detroit? We got one black contractor in the whole entire city of Detroit doing demolition of homes. In the city, 85% black. You got one contractor in a whole entire city, and how is that legal? How is that legal? How is it legal to shut down over 100 schools with a literacy rate at 47%? How is that legal? How is it legal for them to shut off masses of people water and for water bills that's only $50, $60, $100 when we got big corporation businesses owning hundreds of thousands of dollars and nobody says nothing about it? How is that legal where we got stadiums that we spend our tax money for, but we don't even have schools for our children, and they take money from our school funds? And not only that, our housing and our city services right now, our garbage workers was laid off. That was outsourced. How is this stuff legal? How is it legal? And every time we say something, we are the rebels. We are the troublemaker. I get so much hate for just speaking the truth and to this power. You know, it's ridiculous. Like, you get venom, you a villain, all because you telling the truth. Me and Miko, man, we've been drugged down, beat down. Me and Mr. Ramon, we've been put through the ringer, and none of us doing this for paid for nothing like this. We don't have no ulterior motives, but it's just the suffering is so bad here, and it's so much in our face. We have no choice but to react. That's like somebody put a gun to your head. You know, you got no choice but to react, and that's how it is. It's like they got this weapon of gentrification to our head, and we got no choice but to react to it.
I just want to say. Oh my God, it's so true. Joanna and I, we've definitely been vilified, and her and I, we work regular jobs.
I'm ready to run your
Everybody says that, but you know what? Let me just speak to the media angle. They want to prop you up on a donkey, and then when things go wrong, then they want to crucify you on the cross. The biggest investigation the media has done, and it was in the most spiteful, horriblest way I've ever seen media actually done, is the crucifixion of Kwame Kilpatrick. Oh my God. I mean, it was a story, but the way that he went down, and it was just unacceptable from media. So basically, Kwame Kilpatrick was our former mayor. As soon as he was elected mayor in 2002, inquiries just start coming in from, this money that was being spent, all of these deals that were coming in and such of that nature. And Kwame Kilpatrick was only accused of bid rigging, but it was actually sleeping with his mistress. That's the secretary. Okay, so that's what he really went to jail for. But then they said that he was bid rigging, engaged in corruption, and RICO charges. That was the biggest investigation the media has ever done. Since that time, we have not had a thorough, in-depth investigation over city government or anything concerning these people, the shady people, and those that are mentioned in some of these deals and situations. The only media that we have to pay attention to is Charlie LaDuff, and he was in Deadline Detroit. He used to be on the local media here. I believe something happened, and we know what happened, because when you start telling the truth and exposing everybody, then that's when you get rankled. Steve Neveling from Motor City Muckraker now work for the Metro Times. The Metro Times is another journalist publication that we look into for news. We also have citizen journalists like yourself, the late Cliff Russell and Angelo Henderson, two radio titans that were informing the community and even give them a chance to come and respond. Okay, we haven't had one word or any story. So when the media, we're the most polarized market in the nation. So you can play race optics, you can play classism and such. The water situation, how that PR was uncovered was that they contrived the story that poor people was not paying their bills simply because they believe poor people believe that water is free and such, and we were spending money on cable TV and big screen TVs and such. And I've investigated every person in the city of Detroit that have called needing water help. That is not the case. That is not the case. Joanna and I have been on the front, been at some citizen homes. So the media will paint a picture, a very grim picture, and it goes. Our local media goes across the state. It's even transferred to different outlets across the country. There's one side, that's their side. Our side is never, like, we broke the media lockout in 2014. Because we wanted our stories to be heard. That's how they were able to cover the water crisis. That's how they were able to cover different situations here, because activists and citizens stepped up to speak when we were being vilified and we didn't want to speak to the media at all. You know, we had people fly in here to do stories and such, and they never go anywhere because people can't understand the main part of that. When you're being taken over, you literally have no recourse to action. It's more than just pay your effing water bill. It's more than that. When the corporations are paying their water bills, when these real estate barons getting away with bundles of property that they're not keeping up, no, that is the citizen media and exposing the truth and the real. Like, what we do is not being, it's being promoted now, but there was no outlet here in the city of Detroit.